Do you think that the general economical crisis will affect some specific country? In your opinion, which are the most profitable ones?
The crisis in the Eurozone is affecting, I think, all countries around the world, through sentiment and less exports and so on. But in Eastern Europe, the countries that are mostly integrated with the Eurozone are obviously affected the most. Countries like Hungary, Slovakia, Czech Republic, Croatia, also Romania, that tends to trade a lot. They get a lot of foreign direct investments from the Eurozone, and the banking sectors are also very much integrated. It's basically Western European, Austrian, Italian banks and so on are very present there. Whereas countries further east, like Russia and Turkey, they have large domestic economies and they're also less directly integrated with the Eurozone. So everyone is affected, but it plays out a little bit differently.
Do you think that the emerging economies will continue their growth?
I think so. In the short term, meaning 2012 and beginning of 2013, growth will slow down. And again, in these economies I just mentioned that are most integrated, they will slow down the most. So they will have very low growth rates this year. Maybe some will even have a small recession. But the region as a whole, Eastern Europe, is expected to grow 3% this year, and before in 2013 accelerate to 4 or 4.5%, which is more the normal growth rate. So we'll slow down a little bit because of the Eurozone.
In your opinion, will the economic crisis affect China? Do you think Chinese economy will stop growing?
No. I think the Chinese economy will slow down slightly this year to 8 or 8.5% growth. To me, that is, everyone is speaking, is it a soft landing, is it a hard landing? I don't think there's any landing whatsoever. I think that's still spectacular growth, and it's one of the fastest growing countries in the world. And one of the biggest misunderstandings of China is that it's extremely export dependent. It's actually exports to GDP is below 30%. So the biggest part is domestic, primarily investments. So that's why the Chinese economy can continue to grow even though some of the export markets are slowing down. But also they're exporting to other emerging markets that are growing briskly, and they're exporting to the US, which is expected to grow 2% this year. So I do think the Chinese economy can continue to grow, although slightly slower. But also on that, I think it's actually good for the Chinese economy to slow down slightly. They say themselves in their 5-year plan that the goal is 7 or 7.5% growth, so they should actually come down a little bit further, and we shouldn't be worried about that.